Ladies and gentlemen, we are very glad to have with us our one of the esteemed speakers for today's ceremony. We have Dr. Bosco Hendricks, Director of Biodye India Private Limited. Sir, I request you to kindly join us on dais. Sir is India's most famous molecular biologist with a doctorate in microbiology and molecular biology. Sir has several publications that cover various topics in the field of expertise. With more than 5 patents to his credit, Sir's professional experience since 1976 has been varied from heading different projects to conducting workshops and consultations. As Director of Biodye India Private Limited since 2008, Sir is a leading name in the area of natural dyes. Sir, we are very glad to have you with us. I would like to request Mr. Benjamin Etter, Advisory Board Member of GFI, to kindly felicitate Sir on our behalf. Sir, I request you to kindly start with your keynote.
Since the topic is sustainable fashion, let me just tell you what I do in it. Nothing theory, just practice. Right? So, all textiles start with fiber and end with some product either on your body or in the home. Right? So that's the story. And in the process, you have from fiber it goes to yarn, from yarn it goes to fabric, and from fabric it goes into which is processed, colored, because you just can't sell white products all the time. And then it goes into making different, as I said, apparel or home furnishings. So let me tell you about the different projects I'm involved in these various sectors and how they essentially contribute to sustainable fashion. So let's start with fiber. You see, today, cotton is most maligned. And the reason cotton is maligned is, as you all know, is because it consumes large amounts of water and large amounts of fertilizer and huge amounts of, it sort of drinks, it just bathes in pesticides, weedicides, and all sorts of sites. But this was not always the case. When Alexander the Great his generals came to India and went back, they said that in India, cotton grows on trees. That's why in Germany you still call it cotton wool. So wool grows on, not cotton grows on trees, but wool grows on trees. Now, and that was the original cotton that was there in India. It was a perennial cotton growing on trees, and therefore the name is Gossypium arboreum, which is basically tree, and still one of the names for that species of cotton is tree cotton. But today we just have none of us have seen a cotton tree, right? Has anybody seen a cotton tree? No. But that was the original tree, and it was given a very special name in our Shastras. It was called Dev Kapas or Ram Kapas. And even today, the Shastras tell you that that is the cotton that has to be used to make the sacred thread as well as make the wicks for the lamps that are lit in temples. But as I said, that's all forgotten, and I think of the past. Now, I was rather fortunate when I was working in, Nagaland. I happened to come across somebody who was actually making cotton products, that is, loin-loom products, from cotton collected from trees. So then I convinced some of the funding agencies like the Tata Trust and Lady Bamford Foundation to really take this forward. So we did cultivate some large number of cotton trees in Nagaland and found, yes, it is something that can be grown on a bigger scale, and the village people are able to, interested in converting that cotton into their loin-loom products. Now, there was something very interesting that I learned while analyzing this cotton. You see, something that always perplexed me in the past is, today if you want, fine cotton, that is very thin cotton yarn, you have to use long staple cotton. Right? But in India in the past, we had very fine yarn, and the cotton length was short staple. So this was always been an enigma for me. But when I was analyzing this cotton that I picked up from this tree, which I shall, just for short form's sake call Naga cotton, I realized that it has a very high frictional coefficient. Now, just to tell you something a little technical, cotton is the only plant, a lot of plants make fiber from the seeds, right? But cotton seed fiber is the only one that can be spun. And the reason it can be spun is because it is crinkled. And the more the crinkle, the greater the friction. So you essentially, what the cotton that was coming from this tree had a high frictional ratio as compared to the cotton that we get from growing our conventional cotton at the moment. So it was because of this high frictional ratio, you could actually spin them into very fine fibers because it wouldn't break. You see, so that cotton got its strength from friction, while today's cotton gets its strength from twist. Right? And there's a reason for this shift. You see, because if you try to use this high friction cotton in today's machine in the mill system, you will lose a lot of it at the combing step and carding step. Right? So, therefore, the Western world has selectively eliminated high friction cotton in favor of cotton which is low friction, which will be able to pass through the mill system, and in the process encourage long staple cotton, which meant that we had to import American genotypes into our cotton breeding programs. So that's a little backstory for you. But yes, so that is one thing. So we are now trying to establish the whole value chain in Nagaland. So what that really means is to grow this cotton, and this cotton is long staple, by the way. It's not short staple cotton, it's long staple cotton. So to grow this long staple cotton, the only drawback is that it starts yielding high amounts of cotton only in the third year. So you get this long staple cotton, and now we have to convert it into roving. So we have to make small machines that can be used in the village system. So all that has been identified, and the reverse engineering will start, where we can get this whole system going right from ginning in the village to making rovings in the village, and to using ambat charkas in the village to make at least one count of yarn which they normally use, which is 20s count. Right? So that has been my contribution, to moving towards some sustainable form at the fiber level. Now, the next thing is, you make yarn, now you have to color it. Right? So as we all know that dyeing is one of the most polluting processes. But that was never the case. We were dyeing in India for thousands of years, and we never polluted. It is when we went into synthetic dyeing that all the pollution problems started. Now, when I entered the field of natural dyeing, the general paradigm was natural dyes, they bleed, they fade, okay, the colors are dull, you get very small range of colors, and if you want different colors, you have to use either different plants or different moderns. But luckily for me, I associated with a textile historian who was an English lady, and she knew that India was at the center of the spice trade. What that meant was the Westerners would bring gold to India, exchange that for Indian textiles, which would be then taken to the Indonesia and Malaysia, exchange for spices, come back to India, and then go via the caravans back into Europe. Okay, that was the spice trade. So actually, textiles was a barter. It was $1 of ancient India. And those textiles had to have value, okay, because they were very often kept as heirloom products in the East. So our ancient processes of dyeing yielded fast colors. It's just that when our dyers and artisans began competing with synthetic dyes, that they began taking shortcuts, okay, and then essentially lost their skill at making fast colors. So my task was to basically, understand the old processes, get into apply modern scientific methods to that, and then get that quality back, get it back into a modern factory system. So that is what we did. Okay, so we essentially, I was lucky to learn natural dyeing originally from the Kalamkari artisans, because they were the only ones that were really doing 100% natural dyeing. Most of the other artisans that already were using alizarin or German indigo, hydrosulfite, and all these things, and palming it off as natural dyes. So that is, so to cut a long story short, I managed, my contribution to natural dyeing essentially has been getting very good jet blacks, getting fast yellows, shortening the process of dyeing red dyes from something like 15-20 days to a day, and getting lac as another red dye onto cotton. Okay, so with that we basically increased the whole palette that we had. And lastly, being able to blend colors so that now you give us a Pantone shade and we can come quite close to it. Okay, so that's something and the colors are fast. So we can get right from pastel shades to deep shades and very bright colors. So much so now there's a complaint from the market that we are probably using reactive dyes. And there are some who've complained that your colors are not like natural dyes at all. Please give us those old colors back. And it's becoming difficult now to get those old colors. Right? So that's the thing. So that is, as far as natural dyeing is concerned. Then even on the weaving end, so we are involved with weavers by working with the Lady Bamford Foundation and things of that type. And plus at our end, we make some of the best dharis in the country. So at our end, we weave with linen. We have tied up with a Swedish design house. We're one of the few, I think, who have linen warps. And because the problem with a linen warp on a flow loom is that linen doesn't stretch. So if you just leave it like that on the loom, it tends to snap. So you have to be able to control the tension properly. But the dhari is much better than cotton dharis because it falls really flat. And then we use natural dyes onto that and really make very sustainable and dharis which don't fade. The reason the Swedish house came to us is because they took one dhari and had, was in a showroom on which there was partly covered with a sofa. And they had told the showroom owner that these are fast colors. So a year later, the showroom owner, took off the sofa and said, like, see, under the sofa the color is brighter, outside the sofa the color is, lighter. So then he called me up and I said, like, just wash the dhari first and then we'll see. So when they washed the dhari, the colors came back, their original color because it was just dust that had, lightened the shade. So that's when they came and began working with us. And so we have a small weaving unit also at our factory where we make dhari. So we are also involved in weaving, and plus I am also involved with a number of, say, the loin loom weavers of Nagaland and other weavers in Ladakh, trying to help them out with their craft. So I think with that I sort of covered the whole value chain, right from fiber to product, both home furnishings as well as apparels. And so if you have any questions, I'll be most happy to take them on. So that's our contribution. Let me say, this is a small step, a beginning step. Okay, everything starts with the first step. But we've shown that you can have a sustainable textile which can sell at the high end of the market. Okay, because as I said, our prices are high, but we are dyeing more than we have more orders than we can fulfill. But it took us a long time to establish our brand and our credibility. Yeah, so that's my quick talk. I hope I have not put you to sleep in the afternoon, and I'm willing to take any questions that you all have. Free cotton? Oh, no. If you look, see what happened. There's a book, George Watt, who published Economic Botany of India, also wrote a treatise on cotton. And in that he has said that in the Shastras, you're supposed to use cotton from a tree to make your sacred thread as well as like wicks in the thing. And then I met a gentleman from Vani who also told me that he remembered that he had this is called a Dev Prakriti or something, because I think in Marathi Prakriti is the word for cotton. So his grandmother they had a tree in their temple compound from which they used to gather the cotton, and his grandmothers to actually spin wicks out of that cotton. So that has been an Indian tradition. I did confirm it also. So, and that we have to revive that back again. So back into this thing. Yeah? I don't know, because sometimes we think it as so normal and so local. So we are trying to, for example, revive some of the weaving techniques in the Northeast, because the Northeast has really preserved. You see, they were isolated from all the development in India because of various problems, and so they have really preserved their techniques of weaving, which have been lost in mainland India. So the real challenge for us is what type of product to make such that they can get value for their weaving. You see, natural dyes is expensive. Handloom weaving is slow, especially if you're doing weft weaving, weft designs. So how first and foremost you educate the customer that this is a handloom product and not a powerloom product. So luckily there's somebody in Bangalore who developed a little disc which you fit onto the reed. So that disc essentially has something that's always in your phone, a gyroscope and an accelerometer and a and something to know your location, GPS location. So whenever you pull the reed, it knows at how much speed you're pulling it and counts the number of beats that you have. And it sends that to your phone, which then sends it back to his server. So you can actually trace your weaving and authenticate that this particular fabric was woven in this particular location, in this particular days, and this is the pick and the count and the uniformity of the weaving. So all that can be analyzed. So something like that is also available, which can authenticate that, yes, this product is a handloom product and not a powerloom product. And more importantly, you can actually get the client also to watch while the weaving is happening. So the client knows, yes, this much of my fabric has been woven in this particular time, and therefore the amount of money I'm paying for it is justifiable. So that's something else, some modern thing that is there, some tool that is there at the moment, which can authenticate handloom weaving. Which processes you're talking about?
Both. The using of natural cotton as well as natural dyes. How can we encourage medium and small players to adopt these?
See, natural dyeing, one of the reasons that we've succeeded is because we have adopted a very scientific temper to our natural dyeing. Like all my workers are adept at using a thermometer, a timer, okay, and so with that they basically and a balance. So these are the three things that everybody is trained in to use, and so most other Indian dyers just weigh with their hand, use their tongue to check whether its acid is but we use pH meters and all these things. Okay, so that precision is very important in natural dyeing. That's number one. So we would have to slowly disseminate it that way. That's the first thing. The second thing is, you see, these kind of tools have to be made more available so that buyers as well as weavers can develop confidence in each other. And I think that some programs have to be started where this is disseminated and things of that are done.
So education and awareness would be the first
That is important. The second thing is, see, what happens is also, now for example, let's take organic cotton, which is really a sustainable fiber. I personally, went and visited my cotton supplier, and I was very happy to find that he has adopted his own village, and he's paying a premium of 20% above the organic cotton premium, just so that nobody in the village grows BT cotton, because even if a small patch of BT cotton is grown, all the cotton around it would get affected. And he gives them a guarantee that he'll buy all that back, and if he doesn't buy, then they can go and sell it elsewhere. But he has a lovely program in the sense that he has employed agricultural scientists to help the farmers monitor their fields. Then I saw drones. They were using drones to spray. I said, why are you using drones? Because yours is this organic, neem and nirgundika extracts and things of that type. So he says, no, because if we spray, then we don't go into the field and disturb the crop. Plus, it doesn't scratch us and things of that type. So they are adopting all techniques. Okay, the farmers adopting even organic farmers adopting all these techniques, and they're aware. But you need, programs at this level where the buyer himself adopts entire sections of farmers rather than just keeps on buying something that is brought to him and said it's organic.
And lastly, sir, what is your message for the students?
Well, I think the only thing I can tell you is that sustainability, like in the last 3 or 4 years, the awareness in the market has increased tremendously. And, business at our end has also picked up, which shows that there is a real increase in awareness. And not only that, even rules and the EU in March 2022 has published a number of papers saying that they want to go into sustainable fashion, sustainable products. Fast fashion is out of fashion is their mantra. Okay, so how to encourage that? How to ensure that that the amount of wastage is less? How do you design fabric, apparel that can be recycled, reused? So all these things are coming together, and so sustainable fashion, yes, it's going to have a big market, and we have to slowly reverse. We can't do that overnight. As the market demands, like we were very ahead of our time. Then for about 7 to 8 years, we had to sustain ourselves from our savings. But now the market has caught up with us. But it's a slow change, but it is coming. You can't reverse that now, because the millennials and all the younger generation are catching up to this whole sustainable fashion concept. And the earth needs it. It's not you. The earth just needs it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.